So hopeful.
Estelle?
Is Estelle there?
Hi, Lois.
Hi.
I think he's probably just late.
I think so too. I'm going to wait a few more minutes. How's
Yeah,
your
wait.
Hanukkah? How's
I'll
your
wait a
Hanukkah going?
Oh, here he comes.
Oh, good.
How can you see him?
How can you?
He's no, I can't
Oh.
see.
Hi.
Hi guys,
Rabbi.
sorry. I hope you guys
Hi.
got to schmooze. I hope you-
We just started to. We just started. Okay.
How are you, Rosh Yeshiva?
I am definitely
What?
sitting. So if I'm the head of all sitters, I don't know, but I'm
Uh-huh.
definitely in the pose of yeshiva. as
Okay.
they say.
Mhm.
All righty.
What?
It's excellent to hear your voices and to see your avatars. I get
Rabbi,
much-
can you see that?
What am I looking at?
What? It's a Hebrew. Let's see.
So far it's blurry. Sort of blurry.
Well, okay.
It's on your screen?
Yes, it's on my screen, which is on my.
You want to
computer.
send it? Can you send it to me? I don't know. For some reason, it's blurry. I don't know why.
Well, never mind. The thing is,
Yeah.
it's Hebrew written. It's at the Cultural Center downtown. You know, that was
Okay.
the library eventually.
Yeah.
And I know all the words, but but put together, they don't make any sense to me.
What is it? What is it?
It's a mosaic.
It's a mosaic that was
Okay.
installed in the original Chicago Public Library, along with quotes from, the Bard and,
I see.
other people and things like that.
Yeah.
So if I looked at it right now, I'm just going to do Chicago's Cultural Center.
Let's see why.
If it's blurry, it's blurry, Louie. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I don't know why, but
It's the
Chicago
damage.
Cultural Center. What is it? What do they call it? They call it a mural? Is that the official word
Well,
for it?
it's a mosaic. It's a mosaic.
Hebrew. All right, I'll say Hebrew mosaic.
Hebrew mosaic, right.
All right, I'm looking.
Oh.
Looking. Here we go. The magic search. All right, Chicago Cultural Center. Was it on the ceiling? Let's see here.
I don't know. Oh, on a dome. It was on the dome.
The
or
mosaic type fabric was on the Bernard. No, mosaic journey.
I can actually read it to you, and it says Vanatan HaSefer al Asher La Yadei, Yodalad Ayin Sefer La Omer Kara Nazeh.
All right, so start again. Vanatan HaSefer
Al Asher La.
Al Ayin Lamed.
Yeah.
Not L. Al.
Al.
Right?
Ayin
Okay.
Lamed. Yeah.
Okay. Asher La.
La. And then.
All right, that should be enough. 1 second. I'm searching here. Let me search.
Oh, good.
Isaiah 29:14.
Aha.
V'nitana sefer asher lo yada sefer lemor kra nazeh ve'amar lo yadati sefer. Does that work?
That's it, except the
All
last
right.
words. The last words weren't there. Okay.
So that is Isaiah chapter
Okay.
43. No. What happened? Let me just see that again. Isaiah 43. What is that? What is the 40? No, Isaiah 29:12. What's the 43? Forget the 43. Isaiah 29:12. Isaiah
Okay.
20. And in English, it reads, and if the document is handed with the same request to one who cannot read, the response will be, I can't read. So that all prophecy has been to you like the words of a sealed document. If it is handed to one who can read with a request to read it, the response will be, I can't, because it is sealed. Now, if the document is handed with the same request to one who cannot read, the response will be, I can't read. Now, why would that be?
What does it mean?
And also, this is quite, it's not a, uplifting. It starts before God has spread over you a spirit of deep sleep and has shut your eyes, the prophets, and covered your head, the seers, so that all prophecy has been to you like the words of a sealed document. If it is handed to one who can read with a request to read it, the response will be, I can't, it's sealed. And if the document is handed with the same request to one who can't read, the response will be, I can't read.
Ha,
Why would they?
I don't know. Well, I think all the quotes are about reading because it was the library eventually, of it. But
I'm sure
this-
there has to be a positive about reading.
okay.
You would think. I
Well,
don't know, that'll be a challenge. And
thank
then
you.
we'll appeal to the city that they have it changed, and we'll have a meeting at city council with a petition that will have that changed to the one that we pick. But first we have to have a contest to pick it.
That's
And
right.
then we're going to appeal to them to change it.
I don't know. Anyway, thank you.
I think this could be something that you could really sink your teeth into, Lois.
Yeah.
A cause celeb. All right. Here we go. Why? There's some reason why it's not sharing. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, yes, we see TLC.
But you don't see but you don't see my Hasidic guy. No,
No.
you're not seeing the screen.
No.
What? I asked it to
Now
share
we
my,
see you. Now we see
right,
you.
but now I go to screen and I say start broadcast. 3, 2, 1.
It's a dud.
Nothing happened.
TLC. Yeah.
Yeah, but why is that? It's supposed to start. All right, we're going to try one other thing.
Okay.
Nah, forget it.
Well, you
Sometime
could-
we spent a good amount of time on the thing of appointing a king. I did want to just at some point do a little more about, for some reason I can't share it, so I'm not going to go to it now. But we'll come back to it. But again, the mitzvah of appointing a king was what we were talking about. And we were talking about whether there's a mitzvah today. Is this something that we should be looking to do? Also, whether or not a government that is a popular, voted in by the people, what the status of such a government is. So that's where we're reading that article by Moshe Lichtenstein. It was just the first in a series of articles about the subject. So again, let's say we have an ideal moment where the Jewish people really are committed to doing things in Israel according to the Torah. Would that mean that we're compelled to go back to a monarchy? So we saw that there are different opinions about whether we're compelled to have a monarchy or not. The Rambam seems to believe we are. But there are many other Rishonim who did not agree with him, and especially the Abarbanel in a full-throated disagreement. He not only does he not agree with the notion that we need to have a monarchy, he felt monarchies were not good, and also, that they're not a good form of government, and he also felt that the Rambam doesn't mean what everybody thought he meant, but a lot of the commentators on the Rambam were not moved by the Abarbanel's new. I wonder what he thought. Where was an example for him? Because he's writing in the late 1400s, early 1500s. So, what is an example of an alternative government? I guess the Roman Republic was. Because at his time, what was there anywhere that wasn't governed by a king?
I can't think of
The English didn't. When is
no, they have.
But that was in the 1500s, right? When did they switch? When was when was the Reformation, or whatever they call it, not the Reformation.
Well,
My-
you mean like Oliver
Yes,
Cromwell?
Cromwell.
That was later. That was 16.
Oh, 1600s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder what the Abarbanel, maybe he was thinking of the Roman Republic. Because otherwise, what is he thinking of as an alternative form of government? He doesn't think monarchies are good. What choice do you have? But, and who was even writing about it?
Right.
At that time. But anyway, so would we have to? We're thinking, I like to think that we're a few steps away from, like we've talked about, a few steps away from bringing sacrifices. We're also perhaps a few steps away from being able to have a Sanhedrin. So those would be two institutions that are like major institutions that we haven't had for like 2,000 years that might be part of a fully realized or fully expressed Jewish people in Israel from what you would call the biblical perspective. But so the question is about the governing. Do we have to have a monarchy? Could we have a properly elected government? So that's part of this discussion. All righty then. And I remember we were talking about whether destroying Hamas is fulfilling the mitzvah of destroying Amalek. And I was wondering out loud why you don't hear rabbinic figures stressing that. And I was thinking maybe they're not stressing it because if they do, they would be tying the hands of the Israeli government. Because if the Israeli government continues without being able to wipe out everybody from Hamas, they need to have some kind of exit strategy from their mission or their claim that that's what they're doing. And if let's say a rabbinic figure, if a major rabbinic figure in Israel would say this is a fulfillment of the thing, then there would be people who would argue that you're not allowed to stop, that you have to keep on going in order to wipe them out. So I'm thinking maybe that's why they're holding back. It didn't. Yeah. No. All right. So
Rabbi,
yeah.
Just to go back for a second, something just occurred to me. Didn't the Abarbanel write a lot about judges? And I think so maybe that's what he was thinking could rule. I don't know.
A court? You mean like something like the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I mean, he has a famous essay about judges and their power.
Maybe it was something along the lines of Plato's Republic.
Maybe. I doubt it, but it's chapter 11.
Okay. Let me see. Everything's chapter 11.
I know.
When business is not going well, it's chapter 11.
Chapter 11.
Or chapter 7. I don't remember. Not that I remember from experience. So divine right of kings. Here's the thing. All right, maybe. Oh, look at you. The political tradition. Now, you were saying monarchism. Oh, no wonder I didn't get far enough. Here it is. It's all in what's his name's book? The Venetian prototype. Oh, yes, the Venetian prototype. I'm asking. All this stuff is written out. This is big chunks in this book.
Which book? Which book?
About the Netanyahu book on Abarbanel.
Oh,
Barbanel.
oh, oh,
Yeah, yeah. What is this?
Oh, I
Rashos
see.
Haran.
So the ideal constitution, I have chapter 3, political concepts in the book. Where are you reading that you're saying chapter?
I remember in his, is it called Drashos Haran?
Oh, but that's the Ram.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Ran. Not the,
Rabbeinu Nissim.
never mind, never
That's
mind.
okay. But no, but you caused me to,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you caused
no,
me to
that's
get my
right.
Barbanel book. And he has it all here. This is political concepts.
Okay.
I'll just read a word or two. How do you like that? In his world outlook and view of history, Abravanel, he chose to call him Abravanel instead of Abarbanel. Barbanel is so much funner to say. Abravanel stresses the role and responsibility of man. This change of emphasis is occasioned by a change of perspective, not of view. We have seen that in Abravanel's historical conception, man is permitted freedom to a very small extent, and that his moves, as far as they are a product of his own choice, are confined to an extremely narrow sphere. Abravanel's attention is now focused on the sphere and these moves, that is, on man's performance within his own society and with the realm of terrestrial life. For this reason, the world to come, so prominently featured elsewhere by Abravanel, is rarely mentioned in his political discussions. Like the divine will which turns the wheel of mankind, so the future world, its ultimate destination, is placed momentarily in the shadow, while the spotlight is turned upon the wheel itself. The field of observation is more limited, while that which is happening within it is greatly magnified. But the impression that all this tends to create is of a different spirit and approach, a more mundane and practical attitude toward man's personal and social problems. This impression is further strengthened by the fact that some of Abravanel's basic political views reflect a striking political radicalism, which seems to agree more with modern man than with medieval conceptions. This is at least how some of his political theories appear at their face value. When, however, we inquire into the inner meaning and purpose of Abravanel's allegedly radical statements, and when we consider their intellectual background and the sources which inspired them, they assume a quite different aspect. We soon realize how utterly removed Abravanel was from modern conceptions in his political thinking, no less than in his cosmic and historical views. Radical he was, but his radicalism did not point toward any modern political trend, nor did it approach even the political concepts which are typical of the Renaissance. His radicalism points backwards. Our discussion of Abravanel's political theory will begin with a presentation of its views on some of the most fundamental political problems, and first on what is perhaps the most challenging of them, namely the origin of the state and man's natural relation to it. Two radically opposed conceptions prevailed on this question in the Middle Ages, that of Aristotle and that of the Church Fathers. According to Aristotle, statehood is inherent in man's nature. It is, moreover, the moving principle of that nature, its final end, and the greatest achievement of man, who consequently must be defined as a social and political animal. The Church Fathers conceived of man as by nature not a political animal, even though a social being, as hating that state's authority and restrictions, and they believed that the final end of man lies not in the collectivity, but in the individual, in his ability to achieve beatitude through the contemplation of God. That is interesting about is that how we view what happens afterwards? Do we view what happens afterwards as a private individual experience, or do we view it as a communal experience? Certainly one could argue that the Torah sees the Jewish people as its primary pupil, as it were. If the Torah is a mentor, then it's the Jewish people that are its apprentice. And ultimately, it's about the Jewish people, not the individuals. So when it says Kedoshim Tiyu, you should be holy, and all sorts of commands, it's talking to the people as a whole. And it seems like we're expected to achieve our fullness, our purpose in the context of peoplehood, not just as individuals. There is a narrative which sort of describes the arc of our individual lives, but it seems like, at least from the Torah's perspective, it's primarily about the collective. Each one of us contributes to what is going to be the whole of the Jewish people. But is that something that's just for this world, or is that?
Yeah. When
right.
we think about Olam Haba, I don't think we think of it in a collective, we just think of each soul maybe experiencing it.
Right, but we may not have the whole, because for instance, when it talks about the death of patriarchs, it'll say something like, and he was gathered unto his people, or is gathered unto his fathers. So there's some gathering, and there's other people involved. It doesn't sound like it's meant to, and also like there is, I remember Ramosha Shapiro, he once said something. We had this sort of unusual experience of learning about the world to come with him. We were learning the chapter in Perek Chelek, that chapter in Sanhedrin, about who has a share in the world to come, etc., and the nature of the world to come. So he once said something like, he was emphasizing that the world to come, this is particularly a teaching of Reb Chaim of Volozhin, that the world to come is not a place that already exists separate from our world. It's a world that's built, that we build it. And it's built out of the choices that we make in this lifetime. So it's the world that comes of the life we live. And so in some sense, it's our own world. We're creating our own world. But then he would say it's peopled by the people that we interact with, and that they share in the construction of this world. And it reminded me a little bit of that movie that Robin Williams was in. Remember, there was a movie that he was in where his wife died, and for some reason she was in hell. And he decided he has to get her out of hell, so he commits suicide.
No, I never.
In order to go.
I don't know that one. No.
It's a very uplifting movie.
Sounds like it.
Robin Williams, of all people.
Maybe it is.
It was, I think in the end it was sort of. But anyways, there also it had this kind of theology where there are people in our own afterlife, but they're only there because of their connection to us. They have a completely different afterlife. Like their person has its own afterlife, but then they're also in the afterlife of others. So anyways, I remember Moshe saying something like it. That's why I think I saw that movie before he said it. And it just reminded me of that thing from that movie. I don't remember which way it happened. But anyways, there are people in it. That was the thing I got from it. He was talking about how there are people in your next life, and they're all the people that were part of making the world that you make out of your various experiences and choices. You hardly ever do anything by yourself. You're almost always doing it with others, and they all are a part of it. And they share that, you share that experience in the next life. Now, also, you see that in some descriptions of the afterlife, that the righteous are sitting together. There's like some kind of, and they even call it yeshiva shelmaila, that there's some kind of yeshiva in the heavens or something. But you see, like tzaddikim yoshvin, the righteous are sitting and with crowns on their heads or in their heads. I don't know. There's descriptions like that, but that's so interesting. Is the next world a communal experience or an individual one? Anyways, Aristotle held that the state indispensable for man's welfare, for only the many-sided mutual cooperation, which is consolidated and perfected by the state, enables man to fulfill all his needs. The position of the church fathers was that in the state of innocence, that is, before his nature was spoiled by extravagant desires, man didn't require the cooperation which the state supplies. The state, they said, is not a product of man's original nature, but of a nature corrupted by sin. Nevertheless, they maintain that while the state is a result of man's sinful passions, it is also a force which restrains these passions. In other words, the state is essential for man as he is, but not for man as he was, or for man as he should be. Again, they seem to be arguing that man in his perfect state would not be live in society. Because if you're going to live in society, so they would argue, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to think too much about what they would argue, but would they say that all those cases in the Torah that deal with one man's ox goring another ox and what to do about it, those things would, so maybe that's your point. Your point is we might need judges, but we don't need politicians. That's that's your point. I get it. Now I get it. I get it.
Even though I got mixed up with who was saying it, but that's okay.
Right. Yeah. Right. So the political theory of the church fathers was dominant until the 13th century. That is, until Aristotle's theory conquered or reconquered the field. Comparing St. Aquinas's attitude to government to that of, comparing St. Augustine's attitude to government to that of Thomas Aquinas, we can see how the concept of government as opposed to man's nature was replaced by a concept of government as immanent in man's nature. So Aquinas is influenced by Aristotle. Augustine was before Aquinas. And for Augustine, there could have been, in a primitive state, no dominion of man over man, but of man over beast.
Augustine was one of the first church fathers, way back.
Right, right. So he is reflecting the early thinking, even though they're closer to Aristotle, but Aristotle has a resurgence. And Maimonides is very much responsible for that. But of man over beast, and therefore the righteous men in primitive times were made shepherds of cattle rather than kings of men. Oh, this does answer a question, though. I had a question. Oh, this does answer it. Now I have to credit Augustine with the answer to it. My question was, there are certain professions, the Rambam mentioned certain professions that if this person had practiced that profession, they could not be king. One of them was a tanner. I don't remember if one of them was a blacksmith, but there were certain like professions that were considered to be sort of foul. You smelled bad if you did them, and you they were sort of just considered lowly professions. And if this person had occupied that profession or practiced that profession, they could not be king afterwards. And so I wondered about shepherds. Isn't shepherd a lowly profession? And now they're pointing out that no, that was God's blessing. God's blessing was be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, uraduba, and manage it. Manage the fish in the sea, the birds of the sky, and the animals. So managing animals is in that blessing. That's not a lowly profession, even though it seems that it is left to the people that occupy a lower strata, children, and just, it did not seem culturally that it was left to the best and the brightest to be the shepherds. It seemed to be left to other people, maybe the dreamers and the poets, but not the best and the brightest in the world of the material world.
Although shepherds, it seems, had time to sit and contemplate.
Yeah, and it definitely could be to the advantage of a thinker. And again, our greatest leaders are all shepherds.
Yeah.
Right. So Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe. We don't see Aaron shepherding, but we see David. The only one of these things is not like the other. Yes, he's the only one we don't see shepherding. That's interesting. Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David. All the rest of them are shepherds, and it's in the text, but Aaron is not. There's so many things coming up today. I don't know what to do with all of them. Okay. All right. So you'll have to call me on this if I don't credit Augustine for that answer to that question, if it ever comes up again. Okay. Yeah. So nature of social being is moved up by virtue of nature. All right. So that was that. And then we have presented here Maimonides' view of law because, in our opinion, it is this view of Maimonides which Abravanel adopted. Now, what was the view of law? Oh, here we go. The function of law is to counterbalance the natural diversity by the uniformity of legislation. The function of leaders is to formulate and enforce the law. It was God, Maimonides went on to say, who endowed mankind with the capacity to produce legislators and rulers. Since this capacity is embodied in man's nature, all law is, in a certain sense, natural, while in other respects it is artificial and constitutes an art, since it aims at perfecting nature and at solving problems which human nature by itself could not solve. The difference between divine and human law is merely a difference in the degree of the art, the one being superb and embracing all man's needs, the other faulty and partial. So then he goes on to say, we presented here Maimonides' view of law because, in our opinion, it is this view of Maimonides which Abravanel adopted. One may conclude from Abravanel's references to this question that he recognized the existence of three kinds of law: natural, conventional, and divine. But since the natural law, in Abravanel's opinion, is void of any content, since according to him, even the law of conduct accepted by Adam and Noah belong not to the sphere of the natural, but to that of divine or conventional law. What could he possibly have meant when he referred to natural law? It seems reasonable, therefore, to assume that the three forms of law were viewed by him as corresponding to three forms of life: animal, political, and rational. All right, they're going to go on there. But anyways, thank you. I would not have gone to Don Isaac Abravanel, statesman and philosopher, had it not been for Lois. Thank you, Lois.
Oh, yes.
And I am grateful
Thank
for this
you, Reb.
opportunity to study with you guys.
Rabbi. Thank
And
you.
I look forward to doing that tomorrow.
Yes. Rabbi,
Be well.
did Liz send you the West Side Hanukkah story?
I don't think so.
If I'm gonna send it, it's so
All right.
great.
send it. Okay.
West
well,
Side Hanukkah Story. It's all the songs from West Side Story.
Oh,
but
love
it's-
it.
Oh,
Love it.
it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Okay,
Okay.
I'll send it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Estelle.
Bye,
Thank
Estelle.
you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Bye, Lois. Bye, David.